The dangerous idea in AI right now is this: a bigger context window can make your product worse, not better.
And that surprises people because bigger sounds safer. But context is not magic. It is just the chunk of text, code, or conversation the model can actively look at while generating the next token.
So, when people hear context window, they should not think intelligence. They should think working memory with a price tag.
Exactly. If your prompt, your chat history, your docs, and the model's own output all have to fit inside that window, then context size directly shapes what the model can remember, use, and ignore.
Why should a programmer care? Because this sounds like a model spec sheet detail, not a product decision.
It becomes a product decision fast. Imagine a coding assistant reviewing one file versus your whole repo, design notes, and recent bug reports. More context can let it connect pieces a smaller window would miss.
That sounds like a clear win. More of the code base, more of the conversation, more of the truth.
Sometimes, yes, more context helps when the answer depends on scattered facts. Long contracts, multi-step support chats, big code bases, policy docs, research notes. The model can ground itself instead of guessing.
So this is why people chase giant windows. They want fewer hallucinations and fewer blind spots.
Right. But here is the catch. Stuffing in more text does not guarantee better attention. Relevance matters more than raw volume. If you dump in everything, you also dump in noise.
Noise is annoying, but is it actually dangerous?
Yes, picture a support bot handling a refund case. You include the customer's full year of chat history, old policy versions, internal notes, and unrelated order details. The key fact is one sentence from yesterday. The model may latch onto the wrong thread and answer confidently, but incorrectly.
So the risk is not just forgetting. It is distraction.
Exactly. Bigger windows create a power shift from clever prompting to careful context engineering. The winners are teams that retrieve the right information, rank it well, and trim aggressively. The losers are teams that shovel data into the prompt and hope size solves judgment.
That is a useful tension. Bigger window as leverage, but also as temptation.
And there is another trade-off. Cost. More context means more tokens processed. That usually means more latency and more money per request, especially if you keep replaying long chat histories or huge document chunks.
Give me the practical version. What does that look like in an app people actually ship?
Say you build an internal QA tool. Version 1 sends only the user question and the top 2 relevant docs. Version 2 sends the whole handbook, a month of Slack threads, and the entire conversation every time. Version 2 feels comprehensive, but it can be slower, pricier, and less precise because the signal is diluted.
So, the user experiences that as what exactly?
Longer wait times, higher bills, and answers that sound informed but miss the point. That is the expensive failure mode. You pay extra to be wrong in more detail.
That line should scare people building AI features into every workflow.
It should, because context strategy often decides whether your app feels sharp or sloppy. A smaller, cleaner prompt can outperform a giant, messy one if it contains the right facts in the right order.
But there must be cases where giant context really changes the game.
Absolutely. If a lawyer needs one answer grounded in a long agreement plus amendments, or a developer needs a summary across many modules, a larger window can reduce brittle chunking and preserve relationships between distant parts of the text.
So, when the task depends on connections across far apart information, bigger context is real capability.
Yes, but even then, curation still matters. If you can retrieve the 10 most relevant sections instead of pasting 500 pages, you often get better quality and lower cost. The ideal is not maximum context. It is sufficient context.
That sounds almost boring. But strategically, it is huge. Teams that understand this can undercut slower, more expensive competitors.
Exactly. This is not a benchmark game. It is an architecture decision. Do you rely on brute force memory, or do you design a system that finds, compresses, and prioritizes what matters?
And if you get that wrong, the model becomes a very polished confusion machine.
Well put. For programmers new to AI, the rule of thumb is simple. Treat the context window like scarce working memory, even when it is large. Feed it the most relevant evidence, not the most available text.
So the future is not just bigger windows, it is smarter use of windows.
Exactly. More context can unlock better answers, but only if you control the signal, the cost, and the stakes. In AI, the team that chooses what to remember often beats the team that remembers everything.